Hi, and welcome to Fire Ecology Stories. In the last video, I defined disturbance as a natural ecological event involving sudden, widespread death. In this video, I'll discuss how all disturbance events are not created equal. To illustrate, note that both of the fires illustrated here qualify as disturbance events, but the ecological consequences differ because of where the widespread death occurs. In high severity panel on top, death is widespread across both the overstory and understory. In contrast, in the low severity or prescribed fire panel, widespread death is limited to the understory plants. Now, the change you see following a low severity understory fire lies principally in the age structure and relative proportions of the plant species that are already there. You don't see much of a change in the plant types that are present. Thus, in western dry forest types where this sort of fire regime is common, older and larger ponderosa pines, or maybe sequoias in coastal areas, can persist for a very long time and not be outcompeted by what would be competitively superior shade-tolerant tree species. In that sense, fire acts to maintain open-grown stands of large trees, and such stands are frequently labeled fire-dependent. Contrast that with the change you see following a high-severity fire like the one pictured here, where we see a complete transformation of the forest species composition and structure for a period of time. Ecologically speaking, when the kind, magnitude, or extent of death or loss is such that a species that was previously rare or absent can now get a foothold, we have liftoff. This kind of disturbance event is completely different from and ecologically much more interesting than the low severity fire event because there's a turnover in names of plant and animal species that occupy the disturbed site across successional stages for years to come. Now, any plant or animal species that occurs exclusively in an early post-disturbance stage is necessarily fire dependent because they occur under no other forest condition. They're fire dependent because they require severe fire disturbance to create the conditions they need. Now, the editing concept I talked about when defining disturbance last time is also key here because the standing dead biological legacy is critically important to many beetle and bird and other animal species that depend on that standing dead component, that legacy. Even the next generation of trees depends to a large extent on seed sources in cone crops stored at the top of trees and beneath the standing dead trees. Just look at the tree recruitment that occurs from standing dead trees and not from distant green tree forest edges. These standing dead trees are important. I hope you can see the beauty in this picture. Unfortunately, there's a common misconception that the more severe form of fire disturbance is undesirable. And this perspective of ruined forest is ingrained in the American psyche through messaging like this. This shameful waste weakens America. And here's a modern sign just from a few years ago. Unfortunately, they can't run for their lives. In reference, right, to trees. Even though that's the way most of those trees reproduce successfully. We need to remember that disturbance, yes, even severe disturbance, is a fundamental ecological process as pictured here. And, unlike low severity fire, high severity fire produces both low and high severity fire effects. Thanks for listening. I hope you join me next time to learn more about the magic associated with severe disturbance events like the one pictured here.